So I had another, before Popple, I had a tech startup originally called Divvy. And then I had to rename it to Hashtag because I got a cease and desist. And it was a social aggregator that brought the visual content from Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to one place, one feed. So instead of checking Facebook, checking Instagram, checking Twitter, for you, for example, you could put hashtag the growth house, hashtag growth house, hashtag Jesse Ray, all of these hashtags. And instead of having to check them one by one, you can create a permanent feed that pulls from every social media into one place. And then you can like, comment, repost, save, all from one feed.
So it wasn't an additional platform. It was kind of a third-party software to integrate all the platforms within a hashtag?
Exactly. So
Okay.
it was like, what was that reader? What was the reader people used for a long time for magazines?
The reader?
Yeah, reader, like on
Kindle?
well, it was like Newsroom for Apple, things like that, or
Okay.
Flipbook, or flip
Yeah.
something. So instead of, because I knew nobody was going to sign up for another social media, like, hey, here, sign up for Google Plus. Like, no, thank you. My friends are on here. Why would I do that? But at the same time, why am I having to check 3 different social medias to get the content I want? And so I spent 3 years on it. I spent $500,000 of my own money. We had a lot of excitement at articles in TechCrunch. I traveled the country in a 73 Volkswagen bus. But in the end, we just couldn't cross the chasm. If you've read the book, Crossing the Chasm, like we had excitement and, it's really good. You should, on this podcast, you should put up a little thing showing the chasm and what it looks like. Really, anytime you launch a product, you have early adopters. They're the types of people that will try things. They like to tell other people about it. Hey, have you seen, this app? Or they're the ones that bought the Apple Visions right when it came out. And then right after that, you have and I almost want to look it up, but I'll just do it off memory. You have it's not late adopters, but there's something like the mid majority or something. And that's after the chasm. Once they take hold, the other ones will follow. And then you also have people that no matter what, they will never change, right? Like our grandparents, for example. The only reason they quit using their flip phone is because they quit making it. So then they had to get this other phone. Otherwise, they don't care. Whereas I like to have the new phone. So that would be both ends of the spectrum. And then you have to cross the chasm, or you become a TiVo, which never really took hold, even though the actual idea of DVR is in everyone's home. The people that invented it and tried to market it and publicize it could not get the idea across to where people would accept it. Simon Sinek talks about this. He's like, you can pause live TV, you can rewind it. It's too much. I don't get it. I don't trust it. I don't like it. But everyone has DVR now. So that's the idea.
What was your biggest? I was going to say, what's your biggest learning lesson that you had from that company? You spent $500,000 of your own money, so you had some money saved up, I'm guessing, to be able to do that. But that's a lot of money. So, what was your biggest learning lesson from that experience?
Oh man, I got a lot.
And you share a couple.
The beautiful thing was everything I learned. Little did I know, Steve Jobs talks about connecting the dots, looking backwards. When you're going through life, everything seems random, but when you look back, every little dot made sense to get to where you are. And before I get into those lessons, all of these lessons I ended up having to go through to get Ripple to Popple. Because when I first met Jason, it was called Ripple. And so I got to actually use these lessons and put them into a real live product and then turn it into something viral and that took. So it was, even though it was a failure, it actually turned into a success years later.
And I want to actually stop right there before you get into those lessons, because that's super important. Because I know a lot of people, that was your first tech startup, and a lot of people are early entrepreneurs. They have maybe their second or third startup, even second or third. Like, you guys, it's okay. You're going to go through quote unquote failures, but I think for Jeremy, it's the same mindset. It's a learning lesson. And so just know that anything that you're going through that maybe sucks right now, you can turn that around and then implement the learning lesson into your next business. So amazing. I love that you said that. All right, let's dive in, because I always love learning about the learning lessons, because I think people always highlight the accolades. Instagram's all about the highlight reel. Let's talk about stuff that actually these entrepreneurs are going through on the daily.
Definitely. Yeah, I completely agree. You learn way more from failure than success.
Yes.
So, a few things I learned. One, don't build a product on somebody else's product. So we built hashtag, which was polling Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Well, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter don't care about hashtag. So I'm building a platform on a platform. And unless I'm communicating with that platform, they change anything in their API. Now my platform doesn't work. And if they ever decide that I'm too big or a threat or not great for them, they just shut down my API access. And now I don't have a company. So even though that didn't happen to me, I could see down the tracks that like I'm building a platform on a platform. When they make a change, it breaks what I'm doing. Then we got to fix it, and I'm not technical, so I have my either co-founder or paying somebody, and you're just behind the eight ball. You're always catching up, which doesn't work. Number two, focus on real metrics. I got a lot of press for me. Articles and a couple articles in TechCrunch. I did a pitch competition for them in Seattle and all of that. And while that was fun because it always feels good to see your name publicized or for your company to get accolades, at the same time, those metrics don't really matter. They don't do anything for the company unless they're driving sales or bringing in eyeballs. Like if you get on Shark Tank and 5 million people, 10, 20, whatever it is, see your product and they go to your website, that makes sense. That drove the needle. But if you get an article and your website gets 10%, 20% more viewers for a day or two, and then it goes back to normal, people may say, hey, I saw your article. It looks like you're really doing great. And it does look like I'm doing great, but actually, we're not making revenue. I have a hobby, right? And that's something else that I learned is if you're not making revenue and you don't have a real business model, it's more of a hobby than a company. And you don't want to have a company that is reliant on investors. If Jesse is the investor and I'm the founder, and I say, hey, Jesse, super excited to get you in on this round. Um, you know, our burn is 100K a month, but we're growing this many users. Okay, are you going to monetize? Well, not yet. We're focused on users. Okay, sure. How many months of runway do you have? Well, I have 6 months of runway. All right. Well, I'll email you back in 4 months because now you have 2 months of runway because you don't have money coming in unless I write you a check or another person writes you a check. You don't have plans to monetize. You have a team that you need to feed. You have hard expenses. So I'm the determining factor if your business continues to operate. And that was one of the big things we did at Popple was first lesson, one of the first lessons when I talked to Jason and Nick was we're going to run a real business in the sense of revenue, profits, costs, brick by brick, do it slowly, correctly. Because if the market changes, which we launched Popple in 2019, everybody was raising money back then. It was easy. 2020, not so much. And then it got worse and worse and worse. And now people are having a hard time raising money. But luckily, we built a sustainable business to where we are profitable, where we don't need to raise money, and we can continue to grow at a brick by brick rate. It might not be 60% year over year, 100%, 500%, whatever it might be that venture backed companies look for. But at the same time, we're not playing the venture back game. So those aren't the rules that we need to play by.